Hello from me, Lazarus. Welcome to the next lesson in the video course on creating a website from scratch. We are currently working on the additional lessons in the CSS part, which are in Chapter 9. Types designs, for layout. Let's open the PDF file. Last time we got to point 28.4.2. Column layout or grid. In English, the term is used to refer to both the columnar and the grid layout, which means both grid and net. And that's why in English it's a little vague and generalized, but we're going to clearly distinguish between these two things, because these are different things and different methods. In a column layout, the page is divided into a set number of columns. 12 columns are commonly used, but there can be more, 16 or 24, or fewer, 8, 6 or 4. Each element occupies, as a width, a certain number of columns and its easy can be transformed into wider or narrower. This division is done by previously defining classes with the width of each column. Here too there are two approaches, manually defining the classes and widths of the columns in the grid, or predefined grids in so-called CSS frameworks, which are, let's translate it, let's say this like, programming frameworks. So these are, so to speak, programs, CSS programs, tools, and we'll look at them in this chapter, because the idea is to learn how it works, the essence of things in CSS, without using additional programs and tools. We will proceed like this, because using such tools is a double-edged sword. Therefore, we will look at how to manually define a 12-column grid. Here's how it looks on computer screens. Here's how it looks on tablets, which are up to 48 m, 768 pixels. For mobile phones, no classes with column widths are defined, because there each column has a width of 100%. Here is what the visual representation of the column layout is. Here's a column layout with 12 columns. Each element is assigned a specific class, as we said, and an element can have two classes. One for computers, the other for tablets. For example, we have our sections, which are 25% wide, or 1/4. So they're going to take up 3 columns each, right? 3 divided by 12 equals 1/4. And for a screen width smaller than 768 pixels will occupy 6 columns, each 50%, and for mobile phones 100%. And the code for that would be this. Here, look at how this sets the two classes. Actually, this is how it works. And for mobile phones, as we said, we'll have one media request, like this, of this type. All other blocks are also set in a similar way, and when the width is changed in the browser and the control points are also changed, as well as the number of columns they will occupy at the smaller width. When setting the size, it should cover the area from column to column, including the indents between columns, but it should not end at the indent, but it should end at the end of the last adjacent column. And here we will briefly mention the network layout or grid. In network layouts we have not only division into columns, but also into rows. So it becomes like a grid, like an Excel spreadsheet. The so-called modular grid. In addition to CSS frameworks, grid layout can also be implemented with the CSS grid layout module, which we have already covered, and will cover in additional tutorials, and to some extent with CSS Flexbox. We talked in the previous chapter about these two modules in CSS3 for their future application, which will probably be increasingly widespread. So my advice is, learn how to work with them and apply them to your projects. We'll stop there for now. We won't explore this topic any further, because it is quite complicated for beginners. That's all for this lesson. Best regards.